Welcome back to T Transitions, the space where we explore the emotional layers of change, the kind that reshapes who we are and how we connect. We are your host. I'm Rosie,
I'm Farah. Welcome.
and today we are diving into a question that sits at the heart of everyday relocation story, which is what concerns did your family have about you leaving the country?
Yes, indeed.
So,
Now, this is something that a lot of families,
mm,
um, very, very commonly, the main concern that they have about you leaving. Yeah. So carry on.
because behind every move, every new beginning, there's a family somewhere holding their breath. That means that's their love. That means that's their worry. That means that's their pride, and sometimes the silence of wanting to make sure that this transition is going to be a seamless one for you. It's
Mm.
the care and the love that I want to emphasize here. So let's talk about it, what it actually means to leave, not just physically, but emotionally, and
Mhm.
how those concerns shape both sides of the journey. I want to touch base on the moment when you tell your family that you're leaving. How was yours look like back then?
I think the main concern was that I would be all alone here, that there
Mm,
was no support whatsoever, and that they did not know him. That
yeah,
was the biggest concern. I think
yeah.
if it was family, say you are
Mm,
relocating to your aunt's place, in a new country or something, it helps with easing their worries. But because this was a stranger, as far as they were concerned, that was the biggest factor. They knew I could adapt. That wasn't the problem. But the fact that this was a stranger, someone they did not know well enough, and they're
right,
entrusting me to him in a way.
right,
Yeah.
right.
What was your
Mm,
concerns or your family's?
I don't recall them having any opportunity to stop me because I was already living by myself, right, at
Mm,
that time for at least 10 years.
mm,
And of course, they're so proud of me. Um, they're just the voice is always the back of my head. I can still hear. Are you sure? What about your job?
mm,
Because remember, I was doing so well, and suddenly I just dropped the ball and say I'm moving, right? And quite honestly, too, beneath those words are the deeper emotions, the fear. You talk about that too, the uncertainty, and the love that they express through their concern. Not
yes.
directly telling me that they are, but it's always the will you be okay? Will you be okay in a new country?
Yeah. Mm,
Who will you find people who understand you, who
mm,
can be there for you, who's going to be there for you?
exactly.
Things like that.
Mm. I think also coming to the US, now media has a lot to do with this. Of course, we watch a lot of American TV programs when we are in Singapore. That does
Right.
not help, believe me, because your family seem to think that there's crime at every corner,
Oh my
that there's
gosh.
violence at every corner. So it's things like this that makes it even more difficult for them to support your idea or you wanting to leave for a place like the United States, you know.
This is something funny I want to insert,
Mm,
talking about crime shows and whatnot that we saw growing up, right?
mm,
American series. There's one show that I remember my friends were making fun of me.
mm.
This is the soundtrack. Bad
Yeah,
boy, what you gonna do? That kept playing until the last day I was in Singapore because the crime scene is what they see on TV,
exactly.
not
Yeah.
necessarily, coming here. Now, as soon as I told them exactly where I'm going to be, of course, the word of mouth was Richmond, Virginia is the number one place where crime is the number one in the US that at that time.
That time, yeah.
So imagine that. So
Mm,
not necessarily coming from my family, but because I were in tech. So
mm,
they were the one who expressed their concern, expressed their
mm.
feelings. Now thinking back, it was funny.
But I mean, these were things that they knew, or they thought they knew, and of course they projected that and questioned that. Um, Also for my family, it was the fact that there won't be any support. I'll be the only one here. I have no family here. I have a distant uncle in New York who came
Mm.
from India, but I have no relationship with him or his family. We've met each other once. So technically, I am by myself. So that was such a concern. And that came true when I got sick. That
Mm.
really, really, and that became the call for my family. The fact that I was so sick and I was all by myself here.
That's also
Whatever.
called
Yeah.
that's also called concern, their emotion
Yes.
part of it playing, which is protection.
Yes.
They want to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe. They
Mm-hmm.
they wish that they can step in to
Yes.
help you, which they
Yes.
can't.
Yes. Exactly. And it was really true. When you're all by yourself here and something like that happened to you, you need support. And you did not have any support in terms of family, but I was very, very lucky because my extended group of friends were very, very supportive. But yeah, so in cases like that, what is required, what is needed, that was their concern. Who is going to be there for you?
So I dissect this. I mean, going back, each and every one of us, when we transition, the storyline is a little different than the other. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to assume everybody went through the same thing, but based on my research on this topic, your siblings that you grew up with, how are their emotion, how are their feelings, they are your confidant, they are constantly there. If you're very close to your siblings, that will be an immediate loss for them.
Mm-hmm.
The extended family, it's a tradition where when you have events, get together, everybody see the rest of your family members together as a unit, and out of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden one of you is not there, so they wonder how you'll keep the culture alive in your new country, how you will stay connected to the rituals and the rhythms that define the family value or the family life.
Mm-hmm.
I know it hit me only years later, talking about the extended family, the tradition. I eventually make sure that I force myself to instill that, to put it inside me, because when I came here, belonging, culture, tradition, I wasn't really thinking about that as much, except
Mm-hmm.
for just work, lifestyle. That eventually changed as I grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for us, the one living, it could also be a conflict. When what I mean by that is because you understand their concerns,
Mm-hmm.
you also know where your heart is pulling, towards something new. So you're torn between guilt and gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
excitement, sadness,
Yeah.
and wanting to reassure them that you're going to be fine.
Yes. I think that that reassurance, almost every call that I had was a question. you know
Mm,
when they ask you, so how are you, it's an overall question. It's not how are you
generic.
physically, are you well? No, they're asking you, like, so how is it, how are you doing? Okay. That it's a very, very broad question when they do ask you. But with regards to the loss of connection, it's true. I think a lot of families are concerned about you losing your culture, losing your religion,
Mhm,
losing your traditions, especially when you're abroad, because, especially here in the United States, the overall and the main culture is the US culture, which is
mhm,
basically what your children will pick up in school all around. And
mhm.
it's very difficult to negate that, because that is the predominant culture here. And one assumes, especially your family, assume that will overtake any other culture that you
Mm.
are trying to insert and instill in your
Yep.
kids, or in your
Now,
life.
families worry more so on the practical side of this relocation. We touch base on will there be support for you, right? We also talk about, as you mentioned, what happened if you get sick. What we never openly discuss about is, can you afford it?
Mm,
Will you be able to come home often?
yes.
What if things didn't work out?
Mm,
So these are valid questions that we never want to think about it when we are here or in transiting here, but that's just life, right?
mm,
And then they come from these questions from your family or from your loved one back at home. They are actually questions from love, not doubt,
mm,
right? And deeper into that is the fear of not being able to help.
yes. I think that's exactly what it is. The feeling of helplessness if you need help and they cannot help you. I mean, we have had friends here who have gone through divorces on their own or loss of a child on their own. And how did they manage that? I mean, these women are strong, I tell you. And some families manage to support their child here when such major life shifts happen, or the loss of a spouse, like in Jen's case. It is in situations like that your family feels so helpless to help you, and that
Mhm.
makes them even more worried for you because they can't help you as much as they would like to, in a lot of cases.
They
Now,
wish they could, but they
they wish
can't
that, yeah,
fix things with
yeah,
just a phone call or a
mm,
hug, right?
yes, exactly,
And that helplessness can automatically feel heavy
yes,
for both
yeah.
of you, your family and yourself.
Mm. A friend had told me, and this was true of my mother coming here and seeing the wide group of friends that I had. She felt so comforted when she
Mm.
saw the relationships that I had here with women of my own culture, of my own background. And she said, "Oh, I am so happy to see that you have such a network." And my mother was not the only person who said that. Another friend's mom said exactly the same thing. They feel comforted that, hey, we may not be there as your family, but you have a chosen family.
Mhm.
People that I know will be able to help you somewhat, at least support you in some shape or form. And they feel comforted when they see that.
I'm glad you brought this up because that's a cultural and generational divide. They feel comfortable that you will be able to continue to speak the language,
Mm-hmm.
our language, right?
Yeah.
You will still be able to celebrate our holidays. Down the road, your children, for folks out there, your children's will know where they come from
Mm-hmm.
because the older generations, like our moms, right, our aunts, these are the questions that they carry with deep meaning. They're not just asking about customs,
Mm.
they're asking about the continuity
Yeah.
of the culture and traditions.
Yes.
They want to know that the story of your family will continue,
Mm.
even crossing the borders.
Mm-hmm. I think
And
that is absolutely right. They are worried that you will lose yourself in the process of you moving to another country because life just overtakes you and you cannot maintain any sense of self. Now, a lot of sense of self is through your work, for instance, and loss of your job makes you feel, lost. And your family is concerned about that as well because they know it's a big part of you.
mhm,
Your work, for instance, your career, and the one of the biggest factors is financial stability. as you
Mhm,
brought it up, because
mhm,
they need to know that you are able to take care of yourself, or that your partner is able to help support you or each other in this sense.
mhm,
And
mhm,
coming from places like Singapore, most of the women work.
mhm.
So they know you need to get a job, because this
Yep,
is the norm in
right.
Singapore, the double income family.
I
So,
mentioned early
mm,
on our parents, that's the older generations. We don't want to forget the new generations, the
mhm,
younger ones after us. What's it like for them when they are then, transitioning here or anywhere? Living that kind of feeling is not an abandonment. That kind of feeling for them is honestly adding a new layer to their current identity.
mhm,
Their mindset is slightly bit different than most of us, our generation, yours and mine. At the same time, too, they're not replacing the old ones. They're just making sure that they edit the older ones to the new ones and replacing the new identity. They want to make it that because technology is already involved.
mhm.
That's why they come in full confident that they're going to be able to integrate all of this together. Your time and my time, it's a question mark because we don't have GPS on our phone. I had flip phone at that time. I had walkie-talkie at that time with Bob. I remember via Nextel. But today, this new generation are coming with an app or
Mm.
two on their phone, translation, GPS, you name it. So they are able to maneuver, navigate their way.
That is true, but I think with regards to family concern, that is them being able to make it easier for themselves with the available technology today. But I think in terms of your family, it's very, very common, for all families almost to worry about the same things. Not so much as in you being able to keep in touch or adapt yourself, but their concerns are, I would say, a very common concerns for parents for their child. This is my view. Like, for instance, when Faith went to Louisiana, what were your concerns for her? Because that is a
Um,
relocation, right?
I look into the zip code. I look at the surrounding 50 miles radius, 100 miles radius.
Mm-hmm,
And of course, eventually we went there and visit.
mm-hmm,
We saw the whole area.
mm,
So the constant communication about know your whereabout, know where are the areas that you shouldn't be going certain time of the day, that kind of
mm-hmm.
stuff.
So safety, right?
And don't forget, I make sure that I use the phone for her to capture where she is.
Yes,
So today, folks can use that. Back then, I can't.
exactly.
So the constant camera videoing
Yeah.
is
But
helpful.
yes, it's helpful, but it doesn't negate the fact that there is a big safety concern. That's why you have
That
her
will never
doing
go
that, right?
away.
Yeah. So it still equates to safety. It still equates to her, okay, can she get a job? Is she getting a job? So the
Mm.
concerns are the same, I would say. Just the magnitude may be different because of the technology these days. You can know the moment something happens to your child, or you can still track your child if you wish. And I think that's where I'm coming from in that sense, that the traditional concerns are still there. Can you keep in touch? Can you do this? Can you do that? But as a family, as a parent, it is common concerns that you have for your child, no matter if your child is 15 or 35. It's
So
a
that's
parent.
reassurance and reconnection.
Mm.
I agree too. For the most part of it today, when relocation is concerned, it's very easy. It's very heartwarming because you have real time evidence and
Yes.
proof to give you that reassurance, and you can also connect with the situation. Or if you are an older generation, you travel so much, you can connect your experience in the past to the new area where this person or your daughter or your niece is traveling to or
Mm-hmm.
moving to. So because reassurance isn't just spoken, it's lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
You stay connected. I'm going to repeat this: weekly calls, just in case we forgot. I know sometimes I forget. I have to remind her we haven't spoken once a week, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Sharing photos, video call, um, going back to cooking recipes. That is also part of our connecting the
Connection.
dots
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and celebrating even her birthday.
Mm.
This is the first time we celebrate her birthday so far away, and she's by herself, of course, with Nick. So we have to celebrate virtually, or our
Yes.
birthday or Mother's Day have to
Mm.
celebrate virtually.
Yeah.
So,
And these are the milestones, you know.
mhm,
I mean, that's just between you and Faith here within the same country, because this country is massive. So imagine us being so far away from home. I mean, every time I go back, my grandnephews and nieces have grown a foot taller, you know, because I go back once a year. And that was one of the other things my parents asked, you know, how often are you going to get to come back? Because if
mm,
you're going to be dependent on your spouse and expecting your spouse to make sure you come back every year, your spouse may not be able to afford that. So you
mhm,
have to consider all that. And that's part and parcel of their concern. Whether, you know, how often can we see you? If we see you, you know, one good example is, you know, when I went back to see my father and he passed
mhm.
on the time that I visited him that period. I might not have been able to make it back, but you know, in a way, it was a blessing because I was actually there. How many people get that? Not
Yeah,
very many, you know. So it's
yeah,
instances like that, major milestones, weddings, births, you know, your parents' milestones, birthdays, or for that matter, I cannot go back to see my mom on her birthday, but I make sure I go back every year because she's getting older and she's the most important, you know. And as Tony notices, I call her every day to speak to her, even if it's just 3, 4 minutes, you know, just so that she can hear my voice. It makes her feel happy. I'm happy to be able to talk to her. But I am lucky because it's technology. Can you
mhm.
imagine 30 years ago? Remember Swan's story of having to
What is it called? Telegram? No, not Telegram.
uh uh
Wait,
aerogram, I think.
Aerogram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Aerogram.
You know,
Yeah,
having to write letters, not being able to speak to your family every day or
right.
whatever, you know,
Yeah,
or when it's important. Now,
yeah.
someone can message me and get a response immediately if the timing is
Immediately.
right, you know. So we are lucky to be where we
We
are
are
at.
very fortunate.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, in reflection, just note that leaving a country is actually a brave act.
Mm.
Brave act. Don't be afraid. It can also be a tender one, depending on your situation,
Mm.
right? And that means to say too, you have to really think of the pros and cons, the concerns. Those concerns from your family, from your parents, are actually concerns that are not obstacles. They are expressions. They're
Yes.
just concerns because they care. They are concerned because they love you. They're reminders of the bond
Mm.
that made living so hard in the first place.
Yes. And these are very valid concerns. Believe
Yeah.
me, from all of us who have relocated, it is every one of those concerns at some point came true. You know, so these are not things that you pick up because your family is paranoid or no. These are very, very valid concerns about how their child will be abroad and without support, without family. That is all. And as Rosie said, it comes out of love, of care.
Hmm.
Yes.
And if you're listening today on this very sensitive but good topic, and your family had concerns about you leaving or going to leave, take a moment to honor that and to honor them, to see love beneath the worry, to recognize that their fears were never holding you back. Is just and reassurance to tell you that they want to, first and foremost, make sure that you're safe.
Mm.
You're happy and you're going there as a whole, that you're ready. So if you have similar story to share, or maybe worse that you can't share, or how about either write us your story and then Farah and I can read out loud on your behalf, or voice note. We let's use the technology and
Yep.
share stories.
Yes, indeed. So if you are watching us right now, please subscribe. Please share our video with people you think who need to hear us, or to just understand that there are similar experiences out there. We drop our videos every Thursday on YouTube at Eastern Standard 3 p.m. Follow us on Instagram for updates. We're on Facebook as well. And if you wish to be a guest, please DM or email us at hello@ttransitions.com. Until the next time, please take care of yourself, and we thank you.
See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.